A few years ago, my family went skiing in Jackson Hole, which is a pretty tough place to ski, filled, black diamonds and double black diamonds and that kind of stuff. And while we were there, my third son, Jonathan, saw that there was a part of it that was roped off because it was especially tough. And so what did he do? He ducked under the rope. He went skiing off by himself. And while he was skiing this, he heard a cry for help. He heard, "Help, help." So he sort of wandered around a little bit, and he found a crevice where a woman had actually skied off into this crevice and was wedged there, being held by her skis. So Jonathan, took his skis off, and he adjusted stuff, and he pulled her out, he saved her, and skied off back down the slope. And on the chairlift up, he was sitting with what he called two old women. I think he meant women about my age. And he's sitting there on the chairlift with these women about halfway up, and finally he turns to them and he says, "I got to tell you what I just did." And he tells the story. And they look at him and they say, "Well, that's really cool." And then one of the women said, "Why did you tell us?" And he said, "I had to tell somebody." See, we all want glory. And what Jonathan did was glorious. He saved someone in a very dangerous situation, and we all want glory. But to really get glory, it's something that has to be bestowed. It's not enough just to say, "I've got glory," but it's something, in other words, you can't give it to yourself. It's something that has to be given to you. And the greater the person is who gives it to you, the greater the glory. So think about it. Let's pretend you're a piano player. You've been studying your whole life. You're 21 years old. You're going to give a recital, and at the end of the recital, your parents come up and say, "That's great. You did fantastic." And you feel good about that. It's glory. But let's say the greatest pianist in the world was in the audience, and afterward he or she comes up to you and says, "That was fantastic. You are so talented. You are so gifted. That was such a beautiful rendition and interpretation of that piece." What does that do? That gives you incredible glory because it's bestowed on you, and it's bestowed on someone who they themselves have glory. The greater the bestower, the greater glory is that we receive. And that's really why the cross is so important to us. It's because Jesus, who is the greatest of all, Jesus says, "I love you so much. I suffered all this for you." Can you see the glory that we can have when we realize the one who's the most glorious of all gives us glory just by saying, "I love you. I adore you. I delight in you. I want you so much to be in a relationship with you that I suffered unimaginable horror because I love you." See, that's the glory that we have. We all want significance. We all want glory, but it has to be bestowed on us. And in Jesus, the greatest splendor, the greatest glory, gives us glory and splendor just by his love, his care, his devotion, his care for us, his suffering for us. So I say, are we looking for glory? Are we looking for splendor? Let's pray and say, "Christ, reveal to me, put in my heart, touch my heart with what it means how much you love me." And when that happens, we don't have to get splendor from anybody else. We don't have to get glory from any of us. In fact, we can give them glory and splendor because we're so filled with the richness of the splendor Christ has for us. Don't you see, this is the glory. This is the real glory that we all want so desperately. And we can have it.